Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports. Friendly reminder that all of these questions were answered during our live show on Thursday. So if anything changes, just, keep that in mind. First ones are rolling in here from Super Chats, and Patrick B., he knows how to bang. Maxx Crosby, Byron Young, Chandler Jones, and then Tyree Wilson. Imagine we can rush the passer with the front four. Interesting season coming up. I don't know if this is going to be like your starting front four that the Raiders are going to roll out there. I don't know if Tyree's going to be getting as much playing time in the beginning of the season as he will at the end of the season because of that injury. But also on top of that, like Crosby, Chandler Jones, those are going to be your top two edge rushers. And then at defensive tackles where it gets interesting. I do think Byron Young has a shot. I could make the argument he might be better than Jerry Tillery because Tillery at the end of last season was not good at all. I was pretty surprised when the Raiders brought him back. But then Bilal Nichols is going to be your top DT this year. He got better as the season went on. Let's go to Michael. Does the Tyree Wilson foot injury concern you? Yes. It should concern everybody. Just like the whole Jimmy Garoppolo foot injury. It should concern everybody. Why? You invested a lot in Garoppolo. You invested a lot in Tyree Wilson. When you are a freak athlete like Wilson is dealing with a lower body injury, and until I physically see him on a football field with no hesitations, no limitations, nothing, I see the Tyree Wilson, the prospect that was a top 10 overall prospect, then yes, I am going to be a little bit worried. Let's go to Andre Raider. If Jimmy is out week one, who's going to start? Garoppolo's not going to be out week one. He's going to be in there week one. He's going to be ready to go. I would be unbelievably shocked, and I would be even more angry at McDaniels and Ziegler for giving Garoppolo any type of contract if they didn't think he was going to be ready by week one. It's just the ultimate brain-dead type of move. He's clearing up scar tissue. It sounds like they knew he was going to get the surgery in March. So from what it sounds like, I would say end of July, early August is when I would expect Jimmy Garoppolo on the field. Let's go to Jake Durant. So was Marcus Peters signing or not? Here you go. Here's the I don't know emoji. I know that the Raiders have interest in Marcus Peters. I know Marcus Peters has interest in the Raiders. They had a meeting in Las Vegas, but from what it sounds like is Peters wants to go look at some other NFL teams. I believe he tweeted at the Baltimore Ravens something like, hey, man, come get me type of stuff. If you're Peters, what I would do, if I was a veteran at this stage, I would wait until after June 1st when certain cuts will go down, certain players will get moved on from. Now teams got extra money, and you're going to end up being able to get a little bit more money nearing the end of your career, which, yes, that's what Peters is. He's over 30 years old. So how about this? And you know what? We're actually going to make this the pinned comment on today's Raiders Report mailbag. If you're the GM, how much money would you pay Marcus Peters per year in a deal? I'm not talking about 2 years, 3-year deal. No. How much per year would you give him? My answer, I'll give you my answer after this YouTube ad break. My answer is this. I would give Marcus Peters maximum $4 million. I'd probably be around that $3.5 million mark. Is he a veteran? Yes. Can he create turnovers? No doubt about it. But he is coming off the worst season of his entire career, and he's missed some games due to a knee injury and other lower body injuries. So my number, $3.5, $4 million, that's kind of where I'm going to cap it off. Let's go to B-Rabe. Why do I feel like we're going to see number 4 playing week 11? I mean, it could happen. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't played a full 17-game season since 2019. So for anybody that thinks that Garoppolo is going to be out there the entire year, you got a lot more hope than I do. I mean, I set the over-under on our live Raiders show today at 12.5, and 66% of the people bet the under. To me, Aidan O'Connell is a good quarterback in terms of backup caliber. We might see number 4 out there. My question to you is, are you guys okay with Aidan O'Connell wearing 4? I don't personally care. I thought it was kind of funny that they did it. Good for Aidan. But, yes, we could see number 4 out there on the field, no doubt. Let's go to Martin. What's up, Martin? Davante was saying all the right things in the presser earlier. The thing that I respect about Davante Adams, and it's kind of like where I would say the same thing about Aaron Rodgers, right? In terms of what I want as a consumer, I don't want someone to go up to a podium. I don't want someone to go up there and BS their way through questions where they, like what Ziegler and McDaniels do drives me nuts. I get that that's what they have to do because they're the head coach of the GM. But from me, a consumer standpoint, I don't want someone that goes up there and just says whatever just to save face. The thing you got to respect about Davante is he went up there and he said, yeah, right now we don't see eye to eye. That's 100% honesty. That doesn't mean that he doesn't want to be a Raider. It doesn't mean that he doesn't like Jimmy Garoppolo. It doesn't mean that he hates Dave Ziegler. It doesn't mean that he doesn't like Josh McDaniels. It was simply that right now the offense, they don't see eye to eye on it. I respect the hell out of that much honesty. And honestly, I think the only way that he says that is if he is 100% confident in the situation he's in. Because if you thought for a second that you might be on your way out or you don't have that great relationship, you wouldn't say that to begin with. So I respect Davante even more after everything that he has said. Let's go to Daniel Caps Keenan. I love it. New pick. So the betting line is over or under 6.5 wins for the Raiders. Should I get excited for Williams or May? The last time I saw it was 7.5. If you told me 6.5, I would bet the over. I just don't think that the Raiders are I don't see them being a 6-5 win team again. Like, I understand how frustrating last season was, right? And when I did my record prediction video, I made this argument. If the Raiders win 3 out of the 5 games that they blew when they had over 10-point leads, you win 3 of those games. You're 9 wins, right? They're not going to blow that many leads again. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be leading as much as what they were last season. No, that could definitely change. But to me, they're not a 3, 4, 5, heck, even 6-win team. I see them with Jimmy Garoppolo around 7, 8, 9 wins. That's where I would put it. Let's go to Timothy Williams. Could the Raiders trade for Davis Mills? You know, there's it's funny. I saw an article today by Bleacher Report that was like top teams that could trade for Davis Mills, and one of the teams on there was the Raiders, and they were like, Jimmy Garoppolo's injured. He's got a foot injury, so should the Raiders go out and get Davis Mills because they drafted C.J. Stroud? I'm going to put this very just point blank. No. No freaking way should the Raiders go out and trade for Davis Mills. It makes absolutely positively no sense. If you see anybody that's saying that it does make sense, I'm sorry. You're wrong. Since we're talking about the quarterback position here, how you feeling about the Raiders quarterback room right now? And I want you to scale it from 1 to 10. You got your starter, Jimmy Garoppolo, who's injured right now, might not be ready until training camp late July. Then you got Aidan O'Connell, who you drafted in round 4. Brian Hoyer, who's 400 years old. And then UDFA Chase Garbers. Scale it. 1, you're not confident. 10, you're very confident. My gut, God honest opinion, right now this Raiders quarterback room, I'm at like a 5. Maybe a 6. That's about it right now. Let's go to Lamar. You're next up here on the Raiders Report. How many times will McDaniels say, in the next press conference? Well, it's about execution. And if you can execute, then we're going to do the right things. And if you want a chatsports.com/corn shirt because McDaniels eats corn the long way, you can get your hands on it. I will admit, when I watch McDaniels, that's all I can hear anymore. You ever have like a teacher or somebody who's like up there doing a press conference and they just say something over and over and over again? It's all I hear. It makes me want to go insane. Insane. Mario! Any free agents the Raiders could potentially target? I mean, I'll continue to say Kyle Van Noy is a free agent that I would look at if I was the Raiders. Marcus Peters at corner is obviously a name that a lot of people are going to throw out there. Casey Hayward's a name I'll bring up as well, just because might not fit exactly the scheme, but he still can play at a pretty high level. I'll say Rashaan Evans. He's a good linebacker that the Raiders could potentially target. I made a video, I'm going to say like 3 weeks ago on some Raiders, the top 10 free agents the Raiders could sign after the draft. Mario, go check it out. Let's go to Albert. Any news on Jacobs? No. He has yet to sign his tender. He did change his number to 8. So, I mean, he's going to sell a lot more jerseys in Las Vegas. There's no doubt about that. And people were like, oh, did you see the Jacobs jerseys are on sale? It's probably because they already knew that he was going to change his number to 8. But he told us that last season. He was like, I'm going to go to 8 sooner rather than later. In terms of he hasn't signed his tender yet, so he can't participate in OTAs. He's got to sign that tender, though, by July. It's like middle of July, 15th, 17th, one of those 2 dates. And if that doesn't happen, that's when the holdout begins. However, if you don't play underneath the franchise tag, you can get fined, but you also don't get paid. Jacobs will be on the Raiders this upcoming season. Let's go to N-Top Dubes, who will make a bigger impact this season, DeAndre Carter or Trey Tucker? It's a really good question. And I'm going to go with the name that some of y'all might not guess. I'm going to go with DeAndre Carter, and the reason is special teams. To me, Trey Tucker might get more opportunities on the offensive side of the football. However, I don't really anticipate Tucker or Carter to make that much of an impact offensively. Special teams, though, is where it's the deciding factor. If Tucker's the starter on special teams, great, which they drafted him in the third round. That might actually end up going down. However, I'm going to bet on the guy that I think ends up getting more special teams reps, which for that reason, I'm going to go with DeAndre Carter. But this show is not about me. It's about all of you. What do you have to say? Who's going to make the bigger impact this upcoming season? If you think it's going to be Carter, I want you to type DC. If you think it's going to be Trey Tucker, type those TDs. Let's go to Rebel, Montana. Any update on Hunter Renfrow? He did not practice on Thursday, or at least was not spotted at practice, according to reports. I don't have anything here on Renfrow. Like, the people who I've talked to that have given me some of the stuff that I have been able to show on this Raiders Report YouTube channel, it seems like it's gone completely black on Renfrow. And maybe it's just they're waiting until after June 1st. Once June 1st happens, then it's a little bit of a different conversation with Hunter. But I hope that he's on this team. I do. He makes the Raiders better. But I can also understand the Raiders moving on from him, saving the $11.6 million, taking that $11.6 million. And if you told me that they could use that money to give Jacobs a contract extension, go out and sign a Kyle Van Noy, go out and sign another veteran corner, go out and sign somebody else that helps out the defense, like, I'm going to be on board for it because the Raiders still have a lot of holes that they need to plug. Let's go to Gage. Is Carter even going to be on the roster? He's not a lock to make the roster. Like, if you told me that Hunter Renfrow doesn't get traded, doesn't get cut, I don't know if Carter's going to be on the team. But to me, I'm so confident that Hunter Renfrow will not be a part of this Raiders team that I'm going to say yes. Like, Carter has been, over the past 2-3 seasons, has been one of the most reliable special teamers in terms of punt, kick, return. Like, that's one of the things that I know the Raiders wanted because they didn't want to have Hunter Renfrow back in those situations. Is he a lock to make it? No. But when you do your 53-man roster, if you were to do it based off of positions or like the final 10 guys on the roster bubble, I would say DeAndre is probably in that final 10 guys on the roster bubble. Mario, what up, brother? With the news and injuries around the team, who is more likely, and it remained that way? Who is more likely starting and it remained that way because of the injuries? I mean, Garoppolo I'm not going to worry about. Josh Jacobs I'm not going to worry about. Hunter Renfrow, I kind of just gave my 2 cents on that. Tyree Wilson, Trevon Merrick is an interesting one from the injuries that from people who didn't participate today. Merrick is an interesting one because he's entering year 3. He struggled a lot last season in Patrick Graham's system, no doubt about that. And the Raiders drafted Chris Smith, who they like a lot, safety out of Georgia. Now, for those that do not know, competitive wing eating contest, me against Jermaine Illuminor, Saturday, June 10th from 5 to 8 p.m., and it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Chugs is going to be there. Graphic Raider going to be there. Raider Cody's going to be there, from what I understand. Colt Miller, Andre James, Jonathan Hankins, some former Raiders players. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have raffle items, and all the proceeds will go to charity. So once you walk in, we're going to be like, hey, I think it's like $40 to get in, but you're going to get autographs, pictures, all that kind of good stuff. It's going to be a lot bigger than the one that we did last year at Barcode Burger when I challenged Jonathan Hankins. So I'm just saying, if you're down to have a good time, June 10th, 5 to 8 p.m., hope you're there. Let's go to Hanky Poo. Who in our linebacker room will step up this season? I can't believe this is a real name. Hanky Poo. Are you related to Mr. Hanky? Is this like the Jewish version? There's Mr. Hanky the Christmas Poo, and then there's Hanky Poo, the Hanukkah turd. Yikes. That's a technical foul. I would say linebackers hoping to step up this season. Divine Diablo is the number one name that I have to say because they need him to be the linebacker that can cover, that can stop the run that they were hoping for. the other name I'll throw out there that needs to step up is Robert Spillane. They signed him to be the middle linebacker. He's going to wear the green dot. That's a really big responsibility. And then if I had to pick another name out of those, I guess I'll go with Luke Masterson because he's probably your third linebacker right now on this roster, which, well, Isaiah Polomeo, he's definitely another name because he's strong safety, but they could convert him into a linebacker hybrid. I just think that the Raiders need to add another linebacker. Bottom line, they might have the worst linebacker room in the entire NFL. Now, if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Make sure those notifications are turned on. That way you never miss a video here on the show. We're an interactive YouTube show. We're going to answer questions. We go live a bunch of times a week. And with the off season here, we are going to be going live. It's like every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday for happy hours. So if you made it this far in the video, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends who are Raider fans to also subscribe. Helps us out a lot.